There has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 278, 7 themes from 2025, vegan edition. Hi, my Vedge Your besties. It's Michele. You know, in the podcast and with my clients throughout 2025, we have been looking for some themes, some recurring ideas that have threaded their way through the way we've tried to approach this very unusual year in some ways, 2025. And as you know, I believe that how you go vegan or plant-based is really how you do everything, anything. Because yes, there can sometimes be this idea in the wider culture that being vegan or plant-based is a little out there or weird or extreme and that normal people just can't do it. So even when people are very open to it or drawn towards limiting or eliminating the consumption of animal products, even when we do want to move in that direction, we can often start to think, eesh, yeah, maybe it is kind of impossible. You know, on those days that we run into a problem or we lose our traction or find ourselves without support. So, in conjunction with some of the people who have honored me by sharing their goals and plans and hopes with me in 2025, we put together a few ideas that we come back to again and again and again. Idea number 1, deciding once is not enough. Deciding once gets you to the first. It might get you to the second roadblock, but remembering is what keeps you going. Behavioral science is really very clear on this. We wildly overestimate the power of a single decision. It makes for great theater. It makes for great novels and movies, but it happens all the time. Psychologists call this the intention-action gap. It's normal. We think that the hard part is the deciding, but the real work is remembering what it is you wanted to do, especially when you're tired or hungry or in a social environment or stressed or just trying to get through the day. So nothing went wrong for you in 2025 if you had to redecide a few times, even if you had to do it a lot. That's not weakness. That's how human brains work. And it's not all or nothing, right? Remember, all or something. That's what advances the action. All or something beats all or nothing every single time. And if you spent this year reminding yourself over and over why you cared, remembering why you wanted to move away from industrial animal agriculture, that was the practice. So theme number 2, information. Information is rarely the problem. Very, 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 very few people need more information. What they need is support for that moment when information collides with real life. Because by now, most of us know a lot. We know a lot about health. We know a lot about animals. We know a lot about how our food gets to us. We know a lot about the climate, and yet knowledge alone does not move our behaviors. And what stops us is usually a constraint. We've talked about that. The weakest link. In other words, what stops us is usually that place where things reliably fall apart or tend to fall apart. And for you, that could be social environments, exhaustion, other habits, convenience, fear of being that person. For me, that was one of mine. I didn't want to be that girl. But this year reinforced something important. I think that if information were enough, change would be easy. But what people actually need is support at the point of friction. Support when things get tough. That's where our habits kick in. When things get tough, it's not our values, but our habits are our defaults when we're in the restaurant, when we're in a rush, when it's extended family traditional dinner, that stressful Tuesday at 6 p.m. when you're in a drive-thru. That's where change can hit the wall sometimes. Theme number 3, discomfort is not a failure. In 2025, one of my clients wrote, I saw how often discomfort gets mislabeled by me as failure. And most of the time, it's just the cost of caring. I love that one. I'm going to read it again because she's awesome. In 2025, she writes, I saw how often discomfort gets mislabeled as failure by me. Most of the time, it's just the cost of caring. Huge one. Because we're taught very quietly but very insistently that if something feels uncomfortable, we must be doing it wrong. But psychology tells us the opposite. Discomfort is very often the signal that a value is present. And that's why avoidance can start to feel like relief in the short term, but we know how painful it is in the long term. It's a coaching truism. They say, discomfort is the currency of your dreams. Yes, change is uncomfortable, but so is not doing what you want or what you say you want. So whether it's caring about animals or caring about health or caring about sustainability or community or climate, if 2025 felt uncomfortable at times, that doesn't mean you failed in any way. It means you were paying attention. It means you were challenging yourself. Theme number 4, practice over performance. Every time we treat veganism as a performance, well, people burn out. When they treat it like a practice, they tend to stay. A performance requires an audience, and a practice, it's just you and your own honesty. When veganism becomes a performance about looking right, saying the right thing, never slipping, you know what happens? People quit. People quit, and they slide away with shame, and they don't tend to come back. But I believe that when veganism is treated as a practice, something that you return to and refine and live into, people stay engaged for years. And 2025, I think, taught a lot of us that sustainable change doesn't ask, did you do it perfectly? It asks, did you come back? Try again? That's how we Vedge Your best, right? So theme number 5, waiting is not the answer. We all know this intellectually, but waiting rarely creates the clarity that we think it might. Engagement is what creates clarity. Waiting feels responsible. It feels thoughtful. It feels, patient and optimistic and safe. But waiting, probably more than anything else that I talk to my clients about, waiting is what keeps us stuck. We're waiting for the holidays to be over or life to calm down or some sort of a health situation in the family to be cleared up or for some more bandwidth, kids to grow up. I don't know, all kinds of things. We're waiting to move, to sell a house. What I think my clients saw this year more than most years is that clarity tends to come with or even after engagement, not before. Because you don't really think your way into change, not until you're in the middle of it. You act your way into clearer thinking. So theme number 6, restarting. Do you sense a theme of the themes? Restarting is not starting from scratch. You're not starting from scratch. People say this all the time to me. I'm starting all over. I'm starting from the beginning. I'm starting from scratch. No, you're not. You're starting from experience. This might be the most important reframe of all. Starting fresh sounds exciting or like you won't have the same problems that you had the last 6 times. Starting from experience sounds a little less dramatic maybe, but experience is what gives you that self-knowledge and some compassion and data and pattern recognition. And if you restarted in 2025 once or a dozen times, you did not go backwards. Each time you added information. And if you're restarting in 2026 or maybe joining in a Veganuary challenge or a dry January or another challenge like run every day or write every day or meditate or do yoga every day, you're not a blank slate. You haven't been a blank slate for a really long time. You are not starting from scratch. You're starting with all kinds of experience that we can build on, an experience that can remind you where things generally get a little sticky or a little difficult. Because you know where it tends to go pear-shaped. When you know, you can actually build in some guardrails and get some support and ask for some help. And that's not being negative. That's not being pessimistic. That's foresight, and that's being solution-oriented. And theme number 7, the real changes are often subtle. Some of the most meaningful shifts I've seen in my clients were subtle ones, but absolutely the kinds of things that change lives. Behavior change research shows that identity shifts before the results kick in and before the outcomes stabilize. Even before you see dramatic results, you might notice that you pause more, that your self-talk is more compassionate, that you see where things are going wrong a little bit ahead of when they go wrong. You start to question your default story and the excuses that have made sense before. You recover faster. You advocate for others and you ask for what you want more easily and more effectively. And you enjoy the practice of learning and you stop grading yourself so harshly. Those are not small things. Really, they are foundations for all future goals and change of every kind. So my Vedge Your besties, as we move into 2026, we're all going to hear a lot about reinvention. New year, new who. I want to offer that you just think about continuation. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you're definitely not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. And you can just fine tune. You can just choose one of the weak links, one area that's tricky right now, and try a few new approaches. And that's a very, very good place to end 2025 and begin 2026. Thank you to all of you who check in, all of you who support the podcast and have shared, you've shared your challenges and successes with me this year. That's always a huge honor. I think you all know that I never thought 11 years ago that I could be vegan. And I never thought 6 years ago that I could be a podcaster and that I could eat plant-based and still live an even more complicated life than I did then. And I also know and very much appreciate how, for many of us, this has been a very challenging year. Locally, globally, many of you who have been in touch with me have lost important people, or you've experienced, some financial and career setbacks. And many of us have seen and experienced things in 2025 that we truly did not believe could ever happen in the United States. When I was young, I puzzled over the idea that the phrase, "may you live in interesting times," well, it was supposedly a Chinese curse. I didn't get it then. I think I get it now. A lot of us are pining for a little less interesting, a little more boring right now. But one thing I truly believe, that when we find ourselves feeling disempowered, it's essential that we focus on the things that are in our power. Long time friend of the pod, Susie. Hi, Susie. Longtime friend of the pod, Susie, reminded me recently of a quote by the Stoic philosopher Seneca. "Wherever there is a human being, there exists the opportunity for an act of kindness." Such a beautiful and powerful reminder right now. When in doubt, when overwhelmed, when tired, when outraged, when defeated or discouraged, Seneca reminds us, wherever there is a human being, there exists the opportunity for an act of kindness. So let's take every opportunity, because kindness is really all you need to veg your best. A very, very happy, healthy, safe, and kind New Year to you all. Thanks. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.